Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Continuing my conversation now with Max Richtman. He's the president and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, joins us by Skype. Max, let me come back to you. And, of course, one of the things we heard Leader Reid say, he said, this is Social Security all over again. It's Medicare all over again. Now, you weren't around in those days, but you understand this area. Is he right? Is Obamacare essentially going to be looked back on years from now as something as ingrained in society as those programs?
I definitely think so. The programs that he meant, this leader, Senator Reid mentioned, Social Security, Medicare, they were years in the making, decades for the Medicare program, faced a lot of opposition. Medicare was, I think President Truman was trying to push a Medicare. Yeah. And it's my understanding that President Roosevelt initially wanted to include a Medicare-type program in Social Security, but the support was not there at the time. And of course, these are accepted parts of our lives these days. And I think that the Affordable Care Act will follow the same track.
All right, let me just ask you, by the way, we were talking about seniors before, and you mentioned that the good news is they now get a lot of benefits they didn't have before, they don't have to pay for. What about seniors that have, like ARP and these supplemental programs? Are those impacted by Obamacare at all?
It depends on the insurance program. They vary quite a bit. There was a concern about Medicare Advantage programs around the country, that somehow those Medicare beneficiaries who had opted for a Medicare Advantage program would be negatively impacted. That was in a lot of discussion in the debate about the Affordable Care Act. That has not materialized. Medicare Advantage plans that some seniors, I think it's about 22% of beneficiaries use. Yeah. They have not seen spikes in the cost or reductions in the coverage. So it varies according to the specifics.
And Max, speaking of cost, I know that you guys were involved in a very extensive study involving cost of living increases, how these things get calculated. In a nutshell, let me take you to the Chicago area. How will these programs impact life in Illinois and the Chicago region?
We just did a quick analysis before I came on the program, and in the 10 congressional districts in the greater Chicago metropolitan area, a reduction that is being considered, and I'm sure you know about the change in the cost of living formula, the chained CPI, would mean in 2015 a loss in benefits of about a little over $30 million to beneficiaries in those 10 congressional districts. And what our study shows that the economic output resulting in the decreased purchasing power would add another $45 or $46 billion in that year. That grows exponentially. In the last 10 years of the budget period that Congressional Budget Office looks at, we're looking at about $400 million in lost benefits to beneficiaries in those congressional districts, and about $650 million in lost output in the local economy. So this is pretty dramatic stuff that affects beneficiaries of Social Security as well as local businesses.
Max, just about 30 seconds left. We're going to put your study, by the way, in full on our website, cltv.com. Viewers can check it out. Let me just ask you, do you have any suggestions? Does the study conclude by saying, here's what needs to happen?
Well, what we're working on day in and day out is not only stopping this new formula which reduces Social Security benefits, but we're supporting another formula which would improve and be more accurate in determining what the cost of living is doing to a retiree. Okay. The current formula is flawed. You ask any senior if that little bit of money they get at the beginning of each year, sometimes it's $5, $6, $7, $12 a month, is keeping up with inflation, and they'll laugh at you because the formula is flawed. We don't need a formula that's even more flawed, which is what the chain CPI is.
All right, Max.
We need a consumer price index for the elderly that measures inflation as it impacts a retiree.
All right, and again, people can check that study out on our website. My thanks to Max Richtman, President, CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.